another exciting session of Achievers. Now, I hope that all of you are doing fantastic, just like I am. And I'm even more fantastic because today we've got a very interesting, very exciting chapter for all of you, my grade 10s. What are we going to be discussing today? Well, yes, we are going to be learning more about federalism. So, let's get started. So first, let's take a look at the roadmap or the topics that we will be covering under this particular lesson. So we will first be starting with the meaning of federalism, right? Then we will go ahead and we will discuss the features of federalism as well as the types of federalism. Then we will go ahead and look at what makes India a federal country. And then we will talk about how federalism is practiced in India. So, are you excited to know all about these topics? Well, I don't know about you, but I definitely am very excited to start this chapter with you. So, first of all, in this particular lesson session, let's see what we're going to be focusing on. In this particular session, we will be focusing on the first two topics. That is, we will be talking about the meaning of federalism, and we will be talking about the features of federalism. So, before I go ahead, I want to ask you a really simple question. Easy peasy, okay? Tell me, do you know how many states are there in India? Come on, I'm sure you know this, right? You don't even need to guess. This is something that you've learned for sure. Yes, there are 28 states and 8 union territories in our country, namely India, right? So I'm sure, in fact, talking about all these different states and territories, I'm sure, in fact, that all of you who are listening to me today over here are definitely from different states, right? But then this makes me think, we are all Indians. We all live in our country, India. So my question to you is, what is the need for so many states and union territories? Well, I am sure that after today's session, you will definitely understand the rationale and the logic behind this, right? So, with this, let us begin with today's first topic, which is, what is federalism? So, you tell me, what do you think federalism is? Well, let me tell you. Federalism is a system of government in which the power is divided between a central authority and the various constituent units of a country, right? So usually a federation has two levels of government. One is the government for the entire country, and that is responsible for a few subjects of common national interest, which means for the entire country. Then the others are the governments at the level of the provinces or the states, and these are the levels that take a look at most of the day-to-day administering of their states, right? So we can say that the central government is the government for the entire nation or the entire country. On the other hand, the constituent units work at the state level, and these deal with the administration of day-to-day lives. Now, some examples of federal countries, do you know what some examples are? Well, we have USA, which is a federal country. We have Spain, which is a federal country, amongst many others. And talking about federal countries, let me ask you a question. Is our country, India, a federal government? Let me know your answers in the comment section below. Okay, coming back. In a federal government, both levels of government enjoy their power independent of each other. Let me put this down for you. Independent of each other. In this sense, you see, federal governments are actually quite different, or they are contrasted with unitary governments. So let's do one thing. Let's take a look at the differences between these two governments, that is unitary government and federal government, and then you will understand more. So, the first difference between the two systems of government is that in the unitary system, there is only one level of government. Or we can say basically there are, if there are subunits, these subunits are subordinate to the central government basically. So I'm just putting it over here. They are subordinate if there are subunits, right? They're subordinate to the central government. But in a federal system, on the other hand, you will have 2 or more levels of government, right? So this is difference number 1. Moving on, let's talk about the second difference. Now, the second difference is that in a unitary system of government, we have the central government which can pass orders to the provincial or the local government. Okay, so they are the ones who are giving orders to these other levels. Whereas in the federal system, the central government cannot order the state government to do something, right? So this is difference number 2. Finally, the third difference is that in the unitary form of government, the central government is supreme, which means it is at the top, and all the administrative divisions, they exercise only powers that the central government has delegated to them. So they are the ones who are giving orders in a way, so to speak, right? Whereas, on the other hand, if you see the state government, actually in a federation I'm talking about, the difference is that in a federation, the state government has powers of its own for which it is not answerable to the central government. So, these are the differences between a unitary form of government and a federation or a federal form of government. Now that we've understood what a federation is or what a federal system is, let's move on to the key features of federalism. So, first of all, in a federal system, there is not one level like we have in the unitary form of government, but here in a federal system, we have 2 or more levels of government in federalism basically, right? This is feature number 1. Second feature is that these tiers or these different levels, they basically govern the same citizens, right? So if you take a look at this, you're basically dealing with the same citizens of that entire country, irrespective of how many levels of or tiers there are, right? Then, moving on, feature number 3. Third feature of federalism is that each tier of the federal government has its own jurisdiction in specific matters of legislation, taxation, or administration. But what does the term jurisdiction mean? Do you know what the meaning of the word is? So basically, very simply, jurisdiction means certain subjects over which someone has legal authority, right? So here in a federal system, each tier has authority over the subjects that they govern, right? Legal authority. Then we move on to the fourth point, which is that it is the constitution that specifies the jurisdiction of each level or each tier and guarantees their authority and existence. So basically, all their powers are coming from the constitution. The constitution is specifying these. Then let's move on to the fifth feature. Fifth key feature of the federal government is that the fundamental provisions in the constitution can only be changed with the consent of all the tiers. What does this mean? This means that these provisions which are given for each level, they cannot be changed unilaterally by a single tier, right? So it has to be approved by all the tiers, but we will understand how this is done a little bit later in the session, right? But basically, it's not very easy to change what the constitution has put down or the powers of each level over here. It requires a lot more, right? Okay, sixth feature that we're going to be talking about is that is basically financial autonomy. This means over here that the states are not dependent entirely on the center for the carrying on of their day-to-day administration, right? For this, the sources of revenue for each tier are specified by the constitution so that each level the state level has financial autonomy and it doesn't need to keep running to the central government for money, right? It has enough money to take care of its whatever administration it needs to, right? This was the sixth feature. And finally, we have the seventh feature of a federal government, which is that the courts have the power to interpret the constitution and resolve disputes disputes between the tiers or the levels, in case they occur, regarding the exercise of their respective powers. Now, we know that sometimes there may be clashes or there may be conflict, and in this case, the court has the power to refer to the constitution and interpret the constitution in its own particular way, and then resolve that conflict. Right? Great. So with that, we've actually come to the end of today's session. We have a lot more in this chapter, which we will be covering in the next sessions. So for now, let's have a quick summary of the two concepts that we have studied today. So today, what did we learn? Number one, we learned about federalism. What is federalism? We learned that federalism basically is a system of government in which the power is divided between a central authority as well as the various constituent units of the country, right? So I'm just putting it down for you over here. Constituent, sometimes I get my spellings wrong when I'm talking. Constituent units, right? So power is divided, right? Then we also learned that a federation is generally, it usually has two or more levels of government, right? So this was about what a federation is. And then the second topic that we learned today was, we spoke about the 7 features of a federal government, right? Now, before I go, I have a quick question for you. The question over here is, can you name another country with a federal type of government? Let me know your answers in the comment section below. All right, before I close, I want to tell you, I want to know, in fact, whether you have gone ahead and you have registered or enrolled yourself for the BYJU'S scholarship test. This is very important. It's a good opportunity for you to go ahead and enroll, take the exam or take the test, and actually you have a chance to win an all-expense paid trip to Australia. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead and do this right now. Apart from that, good news again is that we have our MLP program, which is free, but it is free only to the first 500 users every week. So all you need to do is click on the link in your description box, go ahead and type the code YT first and go ahead and avail this opportunity. But hurry up, because it's going really, really fast, right? All right, so I'm going to see you really, really soon for more such sessions and all the sessions that we put out for you over here. Definitely tune into the 9th to 10th channel, and definitely do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel for lots of interesting stuff. I'm gonna see you really soon. All right, bye.